Hey now everybody, Jamie here, and I am just coming off a weekend of amazing tabletop gaming. I just got back from PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. For those of you who don't know what PAX is, it's Penny Arcade Expo. There's a bunch of them around the United States. There's one in Seattle and Boston and San Antonio. There's even one in Australia. And now they have decided to do one specifically for tabletop gaming called PAX Unplugged. Apparently, there was just tons and tons of tabletop gaming going on at PAX, which is normally a video gaming convention, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, so they felt it was necessary now to actually give it its own convention, and that's what PAX Unplugged was. And this one, like I said, was in Philadelphia, which is only about 2 hours away from my home here in Pennsylvania. So I felt it was necessary to check it out and see what it was all about. Now, just before that, I had some guests in from out of town. Rodney Smith from Watch It Played, Marty Connell from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and Matt Evans from Board Game Replay. They flew into Boston. Even Marty, who comes from North Carolina, flew into Boston, and they road tripped down from Boston to my home here in York, Pennsylvania. And we had 2 days of gaming, lots of eating, just hanging out in my basement, playing games, and we all piled in the van and went out to PAX on Thursday evening. So PAX itself it's a relatively small convention right now. I would say it was similar to Origins inside. Origins Games Fair is in Columbus, Ohio. It doesn't even come close to touching the size of Gen Con. But I feel like that this is, because it's its first year, it wasn't so big, but we're going to see this thing get huge over time, huge. And I think that is a fantastic thing. And, the title of this video is, why is PAX Unplugged so important to the tabletop gaming community? Well, the reason is because when I was there, it felt different. It has all the same stuff that all these other conventions have. It has the merchandise hall where all the publishers set up booths, and they have games demoing. You can buy games. They have an open gaming area that's like huge. It's bigger than the others I've seen, particularly Origins. It's just huge. Miniatures gaming, tournament space, place for role-playing games, all sorts of stuff. But this one, when I say it felt different because the people who were there. And this is why I think PAX is going to be an amazing positive force in the board gaming community, tabletop gaming community in general. Because while I was there, I looked around and I was just kind of taking in all the different people that were there, and I could tell that they were different. They were different than the ones I see at these other conventions. Physically, a lot of them even looked different. All walks of life, like you've never seen. You got the punk rock guys and the hipsters, and you got guys that were dressed nice like the preppies, and then the guys like us that are, the way, geeks dress, But I could tell a difference. And after talking to a bunch of these publishers and things, the way they described how this convention rolled out was so different than normal. People were not buying games. And they were actually a little bit nervous about this because they had all this product there and they just weren't selling well. People would come in and they would demo games. After the demo was finished, they'd be like, hey, thanks, see ya. And they'd bolt to the next booth to get another demo. But what was interesting is when I talked to them closer to the end of the day or that evening, they said a lot of those people then came back at the end of the day and bought stuff. So this is different. This is people that aren't busting through the doors, running as fast as they can to the booth with the hottest game so they can get it before it sells out, which happens at Gen Con like crazy because all the things are announced there. Granted that there aren't that many new things announced at PAX Unplugged, but I think there will be eventually. And I think this is great because these were all new gamers. These were gamers with a completely different mindset. People that, don't need every game that releases at PAX Unplugged or Gen Con or whatever. These are people that are looking for something new. New people that are in the community who maybe have Catan and Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne, and that's all. And they're looking for the new thing. We always have this concept. Now, maybe this is just me, but I always think about it like this. We as gamers we start off, we find Catan at like at a weird store or Target or something like that, and we buy it. We're like, wow, this is really cool. And then we find Ticket to Ride, and those are the gateways, right? And then you eventually have a game group, and then you go out and you do local events at your game stores, and then you start to collect more, and eventually you graduate into the super geek, who will then go to a game convention. It's kind of how I look at it. Like I eventually graduated to super geek. This is different because the people at this convention had not graduated to super geek yet they're at the convention. And I think that's because Penny Arcade Expo is so widespread. It's video games. Video games are like the biggest industry in the world, way bigger than board games, way bigger than role-playing games, way bigger than movies at this point. The video game industry is massive, and Penny Arcade is capitalizing on that. This is sort of where they started. And now they're coming into our world, and they're bringing some of those people with them. A lot of these people probably are just local to Philly and said, hey, I've been playing that Catan game, and hey, there's a board game convention and PAX is running it. Must be cool. I'm going to check it out. I bet you there are so many more people that did that this time than any other convention, because they see Gen Con, they're like, whatever, I don't know what that is. PAX, they know. So PAX is bringing new people into this community, and it's terrific. There were so many people there that were just demoing games and having a good time playing these games for the first time ever at a convention, because PAX brought them in, because it was alluring, because of the big spectacle that PAX normally is. And I think that going forward, PAX is going to become huge. Right now, everybody was talking about how great the open gaming library was. Well, not library, but the open gaming area where you could just take a game and sit down and play. There's vast numbers of tables where everybody could be gaming. And yes, that's great. But Origins had that 5 years ago. But as Origins got bigger, those publishers started getting more interested in Origins, started coming, so they started munching into that space. Now all of that board gaming space that they used to have is now all demo areas for publishers, which is great. That's cool too. You can get a bunch of good demos, but the open gaming areas have been eaten up. I think PAX is going to do that pretty soon. I think that open gaming area is not going to stay there as long as it could be. Of course, the Philadelphia Convention Center that we were at, there's plenty of space there to grow from. So it's not going to happen overnight. But I really think this is going to become like a Gen Con. And even talking to some of those publishers, one of them even said, we're hoping that this becomes the winter Gen Con. Because, Gen Con is in the summer. This would be in the winter right before Christmas. It would make sense to sort of stagger their announcements and big game releases and bring some out right for Christmas and have a big convention that you can go to and announce those things and sell those things. So having 2 Gen Cons a year, essentially, is a pretty good thing for our community. And the fact that it's PAX is bringing in a whole new crowd. This is a great thing for our industry right now, our community. And I'm just excited about it. I think PAX is on the road to being a great addition to the whole convention scene. There's, of course, Origins and Gen Con and BGG Con. And the problem with BGG Con is, unfortunately, it fell on the same weekend. And there were, people going back and forth on Twitter like, oh, Board Game Geek's more fun. And, oh, PAX is more fun, whatever. Phooeyed all that nonsense. It's outrageous. It's annoying that everybody was getting all fired up about it. Who cares? There was plenty of people at PAX, and there were plenty of people at Board Game Geek Con, and they were for different people, in this case, different parts of the country. Now, next year, I know that PAX is going to be moving a little later. It's going to be more closer to the beginning of December. And I don't think they could go any further, because if they're going to stay in Philadelphia, they can't go too much further, because January, February, that area, that's when the snow starts. You don't want to get a convention snowed out. That's rough. So we're running out of time throughout the year for these conventions. So at some point, something's got to give. And they might have to share a month every now and then, because that not everybody's going to be most people aren't going to be able to go to PAX and Board Game Geek Con. You got to be super, super geek to be able to do that. So, like I said, something's going to have to give. But PAX was excellent. And I'll have to say that Philadelphia is a beautiful city. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm telling you, it is a classic northeastern United States city. That city's got lots of history, and the city's got grit, man. There was one night when a big gang of us, you know, Rodney and Marty and Matt and Joel and I, we just ventured out into the city. We walked and walked. We went through the old city hall. We saw some of the sights. We went through the gardens area, and we ended up at this really cool little custom pizza joint. And it was just a blast. It was so much fun to just walk and take in the history and have that time with your friends away from the gaming a little bit. Philadelphia's a great city. It's gigantic. It's got huge skyscrapers, and everything is very close. You know, like older cities, like the roads are really, really small, and Philly's like that. So really, our hotel, Home 2, we were right just diagonal across the street from the convention center. So literally, I could leave my hotel room and be in the dealer's hall in less than 5 minutes. It was so fast to get there. So it was nice that everything was so compact and nice. It felt intimate, even in this gigantic, bustling, cosmopolitan city. So Philly's a great place to have it. It's a little expensive, but still a nice place to have it. So I'm glad it's there. And it's 2 hours away from me, so I can't complain about that at all. So I'm very excited for where PAX is going and what it can do for our community, to make it larger, to bring more people in, to have more people buying games, publishers getting more money, publishers being able to put more money into games, make the productions better, bring down the costs because they can manufacture more at a time. And then everybody wins. PAX is a good force, a positive force for our whole community, and I'm very excited about it. All right, guys, well, thanks very much for watching, and I hope all of you get a chance to get to a game convention sometime. If you've never gone before, please check it out. PAX is a great one. Origins, Board Game Geek Con, Gen Con's a huge spectacle. They're all a lot of fun. If you want to check out more board gaming content from The Secret Cabal, you can always check out our audio podcasts. You can find those at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes. And also, while you're here, please subscribe to the channel. You'll get updated whenever I do something awesome. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.